Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope you're enjoying your summer, getting some time before everything starts again. So we are talking about we are doing transformation time, and Catherine, I see she's on. I'm just going to invite her. She will be talking to us about her personal development journey. Let me see if I can get her on. 1 minute. Hey everyone, I'm just getting Catherine on. Have a message. And yeah, so today we are doing transformation time. She's going to tell us hi. How are
Hello.
you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to have you on and to hear your story, your personal development journey. It's really nice to always hear everyone's journeys and how they get to where they are now.
I
How have
appreciate
you
being
been?
invited and I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you, Diana.
Oh, thank you. So let's start with just tell us where you're at right now in real estate as entrepreneur. Where are you at right now?
So I currently I have three rental properties and I am working on developing a private lending business. I like off-campus housing for students, so I'm looking at doing something with that. One of my properties had not one, but two floods over the past month, and so I have my first insurance claims. That was new and exciting. So yeah, I'm recovering from that and getting ready for tenants to come in and making a lot of connections with people. It's really great to be able to talk with people who want to lend, who want to borrow. Having a really good time connecting up with people.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. And so let's start with what got you even interested or even thinking about real estate or just starting entrepreneurship?
I'm surprised, actually. I was a 30-year employee at Procter Gamble. It was great. Probably one of the few people who stayed with one company their entire life. And it was a good company with lots of growth, and I really enjoyed being there. Sometimes I was a little bored, but enjoyed being there. In 2015, they offered me an opportunity to take a buyout package. I'd seen some changes in the direction of the company. They were becoming a little bit more US focused, which made a lot of sense for them, but didn't sit as well with me. So I took the opportunity. I left, and I thought I would do consulting. I did some, and then about in 2017, I was having lunch with some people who I used to work with, and an old boss of mine talked about her 5 investment properties. And I was like, what? 5 investment properties? I didn't know regular people could do that. And so that was my first introduction that it's not something that, I don't know, just the elite do, but there are a lot of people. I began to ask, like, my physiotherapist. She had some properties. The massage therapist there, she had a property. I was really amazed because I'd never asked. And then just recently this year, through one of the masterminds I'm in, they were talking about private lending, which I didn't really understand and thought that the banks were the ones that lent. And if you couldn't get a loan with the bank, well, then there was something wrong with you. And so when I began to learn more about that, I've just been amazed because I talked to another friend and she told me that her mother had been private lending in the 70s. And I'm like, Mrs. Fairweather had been private lending in the 70s? Like, who knew? Because again, I thought that was something that regular people couldn't do. And since then, I've been really amazed to learn that you could get a second if you have assets. If you're kind of like me and you've worked for a while, or you've paid off your house, or you've got some stock portfolio or something that maybe you have. If you're a little bit older than you are, Diana, then you have these. You can borrow against them and get a second stream of income. It's just been amazing to me, the opportunities that are out there, but also how much I didn't know, what I didn't learn in university, what I didn't learn in school, what my friends who are employees didn't talk about. And I'm just enjoying learning, and I'm glad that I'm learning now. Like, it's never too late. You can be over 50 and do different things. You don't have to coast into doing staying the same thing that you've always done.
Yeah, all great points. It is very true. A lot of us think, for me, it was the same about specifically private lending. I mean, my family has, they rent properties, they've bought and rented properties, so that I knew, but I totally understand what you mean about like if you're not in it, or like let's say from family, you don't know about it because it's true, not people don't talk about it. Specifically, I had the same thing with private lending where I was just kind of like, people do this? Like, you can just lend money out? It was the strangest concept to me. I was just like, isn't that illegal? Like, are we allowed to do this?
Well, and my mindset has changed around that, because before I would have said, if you were lending to people, then that was you were lending to, like, bad people, people who could not get money otherwise. And if you didn't go to a bank, well, then again, you were debt and problems and unworthy somehow. Since then, as I've been talking to people, I realize that a lot of people, in order to be able to manage their cash flow, they've got money coming in, and so they just keep lending it. And then they borrow money, and they just keep borrowing it. And that way they never have to, sort of save up to be able to do this deal. Oh, wait, I don't have a deal, so my money is sitting here. Oh, wait, I have a deal, but I have no money. And so they just keep these things moving. And I'm paying a high level of interest, but I'm getting a high level of interest, and it's all sort of working out in the wash. That was eye-opening to me, that you could manage your finances and your cash flow differently than I had been taught. The idea of don't have debt, and just be very careful. It's like, watch the bottom line. It's sort of, and I don't disparage employees, because I was one for 30 years, and it was good at the time, but you can't grow the top line. You have to manage the bottom line, and manage your savings, and manage your spending. But if you work for yourself, if you're running a business, you can grow your revenue. And so you have a different way of making money. You have a different way of getting cash flow. And that's been eye-opening for me.
Mhm. Yeah, all great points. Specifically, another one that you said about being in debt. You know, we have yeah, we're all taught that debt is bad, get rid of it, get rid of it. You should be scared of it almost. Like you feel like it's the scariest thing in the world. I remember when I bought my first property, I found it very stressful actually to get a mortgage. And especially being an engineer, I actually run the numbers, you know, and I'm just kind of like, you see the amount of interest you're paying and you're just kind of like, oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah. And so I was just like, and I'm like, am I going to make it? You know, like because of that mentality of like, debt is bad, debt is bad, debt is bad. And so I thought, yeah, that's a very great point because a lot of people think that. Or, for example, if you're going private, you know, a lot of like, yeah, exactly what you said. Like you hear like, oh, you're getting private money. What's wrong with you? You know, like there must be something wrong with you. Whereas just now it's the mentality. I mean, when you get into entrepreneurship and you understand that a lot of people use private money and this is actually normal, specifically with, let's say, real estate, that it's, you know, that doing it in a business sense is different. Like, yes, there are people that will go into debt and they'll get loans, whatever, but there's also that category of people that are doing it for the business sense. And exactly what you said, right? Like, yes, the interest rate may be this, but the income is this. So it just that doesn't matter. Like when you're thinking and when you have that business mindset, you look at all businesses, like you don't realize, but when you look at all businesses, they all have debts, but their profits, their incomes are much higher. And they're like, and a lot of them like millions of dollars in debt, but they're more millions dollars in profits coming in. So then it's just, yeah, it's very good points that I think people need to understand and not be so scared of it. And it's more learn and educate and understand what it is, what does it mean, like for example like that, like who am I lending to make sure my money doesn't just disappear on me.
Yes, because we've all had that circumstance. Yeah, it is. When I started, I took my personal mindset and my personal house mindset. As you said, debt is bad. Don't have a mortgage. Uh, uh, um, Hope for appreciation. Pray for appreciation. And then as I learned over time, it's just like anything. Going to school, going to university, there are ways of thinking and strategies and principles that you can use in real estate and in business that are different than your private home. Should you have debt on your private home? No, you should not have debt on your private home, because you can't write any of that off. But if you can use money to be able to generate business income, well, suddenly then, this is good debt. So being able to differentiate between what's bad debt and good debt. You talk when you bought your house. When we bought our house, interest rates were 11.25%. It was a killer. We had no furniture because we couldn't afford it, and that was very tough. But now, from a business in a business context, those types of numbers, they're pretty normal, because again, as you said, you're looking at it. Here are my expenses, here are my costs, but here's my revenue. And of course, the other difference when you're doing a business, any expenses you have, like interest, you can write off the business revenue, and that is a difference, something you cannot do if you are a private person. So understanding the levers, understanding the principles, I have learned it's important so that you can make better business decisions, not just make assumptions from what you used to know for the past X number of years.
So what kind of, let's say set shifts do you feel like you went through with this journey of getting into real estate? Like, what were your big mindset shifts?
There were a lot. If I go back to, I don't know, maybe 1 year ago, if you had said, do you need to be able to, grow your mindset, become more abundant with your thinking, I would have said no. I was always very positive. I always was an active problem solver. And to me, that is positive. But in the business world, there are winners and losers. If our share goes up, well, then your share goes down. If I get the promotion, well, then you don't get the promotion. If you get that job, I can't get that job. So there was a lot of competition and win-lose. And when you're in it, I found, for me anyway, I absorbed it, didn't really think about it, but it colored how I looked at the world. And as I came out and joined some groups that talk more about win-win and sort of being abundant, and there's opportunity for us all. And just because I win, it doesn't mean you lose. We can win together. We can either win together, or I can win and you can win. And we don't overlap over each other. There's enough money, there's enough intelligence, there's enough properties, there's enough deals for all of us. That was really eye-opening for me and uplifting in many ways, because I feel like that's who I am deep down, but couldn't be that so much in a corporate setting. And I've been reflecting back, and I realize I have not been as open-minded and as abundant as I thought. We moved around when I was a kid, and so we would go from house and live there for 3 or 5 years to the next house. And about when I became a young teenager, I'd look at my room, I'd be like, oh, I want to do these posters and I want to do this. And then I would think to myself, oh, no, don't do that, because I may decrease the value of the house and we have to sell it. And I thought, I've now realized, why didn't I ever think that I could have increased the value of the house? I never did. It was always, I could hurt something, be safe, be small, work within your means. And so the idea of being able to grow the top line and not be fearful of failure, that's been a great lesson, a bit of a hard lesson, because I've had a bunch of failures, and I'm learning, and part of the mindset shift is to realize, well, why would you expect to, I have never succeeded all the time throughout my entire life. I have had setbacks over and over again and always overcome them or done what I could. Why would this be any different? I was reflecting upon the flood that I had in mid-July with my first insurance claim, followed then 1 week later by the second flood, because I can't just have one. I have to have two. And I'm like, oh, I went from having no insurance claims for 50 whatever years, and now I've had two within the same week. Wow. But really, thank goodness it happened in mid-July when I had no tenants, and not 2 weeks before September 1st. I couldn't have recovered from that. So I'm thankful for the fact that it happened when I did. Second of all, it showed a weakness. Now, I had 4 backflow valves. You would think that 4 would be sufficient, but apparently it's not. I had to have a 5th. So we put in a 5th backflow valve. And again, I am grateful that I saw this early on, a time when I could deal with it, when my contractor was still engaged and still willing to talk to me, so he would do the work. Better to fail fast, fail quickly, fail often, as they say, so that you can get over all those things, because we're all going to fail, but get over those and learn from them and not let them stop you. When I had, the flood yet again, I have a friend who always says to me, "Are you going to sell yet? Are you going to sell yet?" And I'm like, why would I give up? Right? It's going to be a great property. It's got good bones. I've invested in it. We got wonderful tenants. It's nothing but good. Is this a setback? Sure. Is it a setback that's going to stop everything? Not at all. And I'm now developing in myself and realizing through working with people who are like this and who overtly talk about mindset, and reading books like, Think and Grow Rich for Women, or the 4-Hour Work Week, or what's it called? Who Not How, by Dan Sullivan. Just really, really positive things to be able to help you think through and get the fortitude to be able to keep going. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have thought I had to go on a journey, but I have definitely been on a journey in the last year in particular, about trying to understand how to succeed.
Mm-hmm. And some great points that you pointed out, that, same thing. Like when you get into into real life, that you've already, like you're getting a job and things like that. It is very true. We do, for some reason, I don't know, are told that it's a win-lose situation. Like exactly you said, like you have to lose for me to win, and or vice versa. And it's just like, why does anyone have to lose? And especially in entrepreneurship, you start realizing that it's nothing like that, because if I want to be successful, like I have to partner up with other companies, and if I want it, they need to be successful. For example, like just in the general sense, right? Like if I need business from them, they need to be successful to be able to take my business, or else they won't even need me. So it's just like, and same thing, like you're successful together, or apart, but we decide, like, do we want to be successful, or are we going to be lazy and not, make our businesses fail? Like it's our decisions to decide. And yeah, so I think that was a great point. And same thing about the fears about making mistakes and like failing, that, like it'll happen. But exactly, you said, like that also happens in the corporate world, and any part, like even as young, like you're gonna, you have to fall many times to learn how to walk. Like you're not like, boom, ready to go, and I know perfectly how to do it. There's obviously gonna be failures, and and for some reason we forget, I think, about that. We always think like we have to be perfect in the first go, and just it has to be done.
Yeah, I think that's, when, as you said, when you're kids and they just want it so much, and they're not fearful. Like, let me keep trying, let me keep doing this. And then somehow along the way, we do become fearful, and we do think we have to become perfect. Maybe, I don't know what the fear is. Maybe that somebody will, realize that you're human. But another thing with all this, that the idea of like working together and supporting one another, that's, in some cases in the office, there were people who would want to partner. And certainly I had some wonderful teams. Loved working with my multifunctional teams, somebody from marketing, somebody from product development, somebody from sales, like just wonderfully collaborative. And I would like that again. I'm striving to find that again. But there was also times when there was adversity or, one-upmanship. I'm going to take this so you can't have it, or I'm going to get it and therefore you can't. And as you start to realize that you run your business the way you want to run your business, you can alienate people and just do it all by yourself and be the lone wolf, or you can try and collaborate with people and help them find out how we can work together. How can I help you? How can you help me? And also realize it's like the long game. I can help you now and get nothing from it, but maybe karma will come back at some point in the future and you will end up helping me. Maybe you won't, but if I can help you now, why wouldn't I? And I don't have to look at everyone as competition. I was talking to somebody and we were talking a little bit about podcasts and, maybe you'd want to start one. And somebody said, oh, I was thinking of doing the same thing. Oh, I don't want to step on your toes. I'm like, it's such a big world, right? Like the likelihood that we're in exactly the same space with the same people at the same time, highly unlikely. Do your thing. And we may not like it. You may not like it. It's one of the great things about, I guess, having the tools and the technology today. You can try things. And if it doesn't work, then you can stop doing it. But, even this, what you're doing, right? You're not, in the old days, it would have had to have been a radio show or a TV show, and it would have cost millions, I don't know, thousands of dollars. And you would have all had to been fluffed and prepped, and you wouldn't be able to do it from your house, and me either. And now it's just amazing what you can do. And that gives us all power, but it also allows us to really reach out to one another and connect in a way that helps us all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, so many great points that you're putting out there. Like that with the podcast is very true. Like exactly what you're saying, for example, like the way you, let's say, will start your podcast and what it will talk about, people will gravitate to you. Like it's impossible that everyone, for example, is gonna love me and want to like deal with me. Like that's impossible. We all have different personalities, and that's the great thing of podcasts, because it's like, I gravitate to this person. This person like talks the way I like, or says the things that like really make sense to me and resonate with me. So it's like, yeah, we can't expect that we're going to be stealing the whole pool of people, because we're going to only be like bringing in the people that we resonate with. And so having many podcasts is actually good, because they get to pick. Same thing. I remember a mentor told me, like, oh, I don't want to advertise in your group because I don't want to step on your toes. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, you can definitely advertise in my group. I was like, not everyone's going to want mentorship from me. I was like, you should advertise, because then people have different opportunities, because for example, I may not even be teaching the kind of stuff that he's teaching, or the approaches are very different. Like I have a specific approach, they have a different approach. And so it's really funny that people get worried, because I think that mentality was there, especially in the working world, where it's like stepping on toes, and like you can't do it like that. Yeah, it's like only one person can do it, and it's just realizing that is not how the world works, especially at least in this like entrepreneurship. It's not like that at all, because we're all so different, so we all give different things.
Well, the pie isn't just this big. Maybe it was in the corporate world, but where you are, the pie is as big as you choose to make it. And you've heard people say, do you want a grape or do you want a part of a watermelon? Right? If you have the whole grape, then you have a whole, but it's small. Or you can have part of a watermelon, and that's pretty big. And you can have like as big a part of the watermelon as you want to have if you connect with more people. I think about you, and you don't just do one podcast. You're doing multiple with mindset, and then with experts, and I think there may even be a third one. Like, just pretty amazing that that in addition to everything that you do, you also can reach out and try and help different groups of people with different types of topics. That type of abundance and reaching out and trying to help and inspire people, that is really great, and something that I see in the real estate investors and the people who are in the real estate business. Part of the reason that I'm inspired by it, and I like it, because it's just so it gives so many opportunities, and so many people are doing so many things that are theirs that speak to them. You know, what you're doing, I may not want to do, but you like doing it and you get to do it. That's great.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, exactly what you said is just it's so amazing to be able to do these things and not have this, oh, competitiveness and that it's or at least it can be positive competitiveness. And I remember I was also talking about someone else like saying the same thing that they thought for some reason being competitive is a bad thing. And I'm like, not at all. It's just the way you end it. If you're doing it to bring down someone, that's different. But if you use it to just help yourself motivation wise, like, oh my God, you got 5 houses? Man, I need to step up my game. I want to get there, and it's like even that, like if you're the type of person that just gets motivated by competitiveness, just making sure you're doing it the right way.
No,
So what
absolutely.
kind of skills? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what kind of skills do you think that you had that helped you to get into real estate investing and entrepreneurship?
Well, I think the creative problem solving, because I find that when you're in real estate or any sort of business, there's a problem all the time that needs to be solved versus taking your ball and leaving the sandbox. You need to solve the problem. So that was something that I had developed over time. Communication. Yeah, when you're in the corporate world, you're having to communicate all the time, written, and then in meetings, so verbal and this Zoom and lives, kind of like verbal communication. So that um, initiative and follow through. The idea of having to look for opportunities, looking at situations, and saying, what's the opportunity here? What's the thing that's not working? Where's the pain point for a consumer, for a person, for a customer, for whomever? And then there's a little bit of salesmanship too. The idea of helping them understand. I remember when servant leadership came into the workplace in, I don't know, the 90s or the 2000s or something. And it was the idea that rather than employees mold to your boss, it was the boss molds to employees. And I even hear today people say, no, that's not how it is. You must mold to me. I am your boss. You do what I want to do. But it's like, do you realize the power that as the boss, you're one person, if you've got all these various people reporting to you, if you can enable each one to do as well as they can do, then you've got so much more power than if you've got many people turning themselves in knots trying to be able to accommodate your needs. And so when you're communicating ideas, when you're selling, because we're always selling something in some way, the idea of being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, what would resonate with them? I may want to tell you about, the chemical nature of this, but if you don't care, then this really only gratifies me and doesn't help you in any way. So what is it in this that's able to help you and inspire you to say, yes, let's work together? So that idea of trying to look at it from someone else's point of view and then bring up, well, in the sales guys would always say 3 points, just keep every presentation, go over the same 3 points and softly go back to these messages again. They would also say, when you've made the sale, stop talking. I got that. I'm sure you can't imagine, but I got that many times when they'd be like, like we've made the sale, shut up. And so, yeah, so I'm trying to get better with that, but yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, sales is a very hard thing, and which basically is also kind of negotiation, which, yeah, exactly. Say like a lot of people don't realize that you're always selling yourself or negotiating on something, and we don't realize it. And I think that's also something that like lots of people have a negative connotation to is sales or negotiation, especially when someone's like selling something to you. And it's a skill that is a very, very good thing to learn for sure, because I mean in anything, even like you're actually saying about the boss molding to the people, that's almost the same thing you have to say, right? Because it is very true. If you want your employee, partner, whoever that is, to work at their best, you're going to want to talk to them in the right way that you can motivate them and incentivize them to use, and just getting to know them is important, right? Because then it's like making sure that you're using their skills, like what they're the best at and what they enjoy. Because if you catch those two things, they will like do the best that they can because they are doing what they enjoy and they're good at it.
I agree. Sales sort of has a bad name these days, along with other things like, I don't know, science and being intelligent and understanding the situation. I took a course. It was some sort of, I don't know, negotiation or, strategic understanding course at work, and I was paired with the sales guy, and we were doing a role play, which are always very challenging. And we were supposed to be able to solve the problem with the person we were talking to. And so I'm doing the questioning. And I remember at one point I get to a point and I say, well, is that your problem? And they say, yeah, pretty well. And I'm like, oh, yes, I've solved this. We're pretty well there. That's good enough. And the sales guy beside me then jumps in and says, well, what would make it perfect? And I'm like, how did you know to do that? Like, why did you ask that? And I came to appreciate that the sales guys really want people to be happy. They want them to be joyful, like buy my product and be thrilled with it. Don't let it be okay or adequate. And maybe it was the engineer in me. Oh, I'm 80% of the way there. That's good enough. But the sales guys were going into, I want the customer to be delighted. And so I learned from that, thinking, okay, you can get most of the way there, or you can get even more of the way there if you just keep asking the question. And it's not nefarious and mean-spirited and I'm trying to manipulate you. It's not manipulation, because if I don't have a product that meets your needs, it serves neither of us for you to buy my product. So I need to understand your needs. I need to know what my product is, and I need to be forthright enough that if my product doesn't meet your needs, then just say, we're not going to be able to do a deal together. Perhaps I can recommend you somebody else who I think might be able to meet your needs, or I respect you enough that maybe in the future we'll be able to do a deal when this product or your needs change such that we can come together. But no, I'm not gonna squeeze out a sale and break a relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and that is what makes a great salesperson, when they're actually solving the problem and they're actually trying to do something for the benefit of the person they're selling it to. Because yeah, it is. I think that's where the negative connotation comes from, is because you do get some sellers, they're just like, just pushing the product, like, take it, take it, take it. You don't need it, it's okay, take it.
Give me the sale. Give me the sale. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is a short-term win, but it's going to be a long-term loss. You won the battle, but you lost the war, because much better that we would be able to do business with each other at some point in the future. I don't want to work with millions and millions of people. I just would like to work with, a handful of people, who maybe I can figure out how they can lend money and be able to make a second income, which allows them to give money to their kids, go on vacation, buy that property, or the boat or the cottage or whatever it is. And then again, a handful of people who consistently, reliably use the money, repay the money, and we rinse and repeat. That to me is ideal, when you've got that kind of great relationship with everyone getting something and giving something, and it's positive and it's uplifting, and everyone's trying to work together and helpful. I remember hearing about somebody whose deal fell through and they needed something like $250,000 in a week. And so I was watching this on, on Facebook, and there were, in her group, there were like 3 people who came out and said, yeah, I can fund you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got, it's a week. I can get you the money. And I remember thinking, what power is that you can have such strong relationships and have such positive relationships, so that when you're got a really big problem and you need someone to come and help you, that you've got people who step up and they trust you. They know that the paperwork will be done and it will be worked out and the deal will be fine. They're not naive, but they jump in to be able to help. I thought that was
And
amazing.
they built a relationship also, right? Like that person comes with a reputation, and obviously a good positive one, where that, which is basically like they've probably done many deals and things have gone good, and they come with that reputation where like that, like like, hey, you do a deal, like, no problem, I'll help you out, because I already know you come with a, we've, let's say, maybe we've done business already together, and it's a great relationship, or we know each other and I just know the way you work, no problem, take it, and that's what that good salesman is, right? Because if you're there just to do that, push the product, yeah, you get that one, but are you going to get a referral out of it? Are you going to get anything out of it? Probably not. But if you actually help them solve the problem and get what they actually need, and are willing to say, you know what, this doesn't work for you, is, they will actually appreciate that, because they're like, okay, this person just didn't try to sell me unless they take my money. Like, they actually, didn't, because they realized that I'm just not even meant for that.
Absolutely. It really, I had thought after 30 years in corporate Canada, corporate North America, that there really was nothing more to learn. So I have been so pleasantly surprised, shocked, actually, quite shocked, that there is so much more. Mindset was a surprise to me, because as I told you, I thought I was positive, it's a problem solver. What more is there? And then also business acumen, looking at things. It's different when you're in a corporate world and your impacts are muted. The good stuff you do is a little bit good, and the bad stuff you do is just only a little bit bad. But when it's you and your business and you're in control, there's just a lot more things to be able to think about. And I am grateful, because I found like this group of people and this mastermind that I know you used to be part of as well. And it's just really nice to be around a group of people who are striving together and learning together and helping one another, and just being supportive. Mm-hmm. Because you're in a bit of a, I'm finding, I'm in a bit of a different journey than maybe some people. And so you need people to be able to talk to and to be able to question without people, other people just want to do
the right
things.
people who actually went through it.
Yeah, let's go sit on the beach. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to go sit on the beach. I'd like to learn. I'd like to try something. I'd like to connect up with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely a good point. The community is so helpful. You don't realize, even, let's say, if you don't work with all those people, um, but just having them there, having that community helps so much, because it just helps motivate you, keep you going, or like that, a problem comes up. Has anyone ever faced this? Like, what should I do? Any advice? I'm stuck, because obviously we don't all know everything, but other people may have had the same problem and that you're having currently, but you've never dealt with it, and they tell you how to do it, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
That happened with the flood. I happened to be, I was making fun of it on a call with some of the group, and someone said, talk to these 3 people, ask about this, try that. And I was like, I didn't even know any of this. And sure enough, it was such good advice to be able to follow. And she wasn't asking anything from me. There was no payment involved. She was just trying to help, because we're all in this journey together. We're all learning together, and we will all be stronger if we're together. And I'm so appreciative of both that specific advice, but also all the advice and the thoughts that you get from people as, they're not trying to get anything, they're just really trying to help. I guess as they're evolving their mindset too, and also realizing the same thing, that I can help people and it doesn't diminish me. I can take, I can go out of my way for 15 minutes or half an hour, and this doesn't cost me anything. Might even, it might even get me something in the long run. But I'm not, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it's also like it's actually innate in humans to want to help other people. And I feel like sometimes in society or like that in the working world, you tend to forget about it or you just get pushed about, this like competitiveness in a negative way. And you don't realize that we are actually we're like humans want to help other people. Like that's one of the biggest things that even happens when it comes to like we're very like people love to communicate with each other, and a lot of ways to show their appreciation or show their connection is through wanting to help them. And so it's very interesting that you know in the working world, so we it seems to get hidden a lot, or some people may show it, like you said, like some people will always be there to like create that nice environment, but there's others where it's like, no, no, I can't help you because if I help you, you're gonna get ahead of me. Where it's actually, if that wasn't there and it wasn't about that, we love to help, like people love to help. Like that's one of the reasons why, let's say I do the show, is these shows is like I want everyone to learn from everyone else, like learn from everyone's experiences and see how exciting, like what the possibilities are like.
Well, everybody, yeah, it's quite amazing. We're all on our own little journeys doing different things. It seems like you may start off, I don't know, here real estate, it's buy and holding, or it's wholesaling, or it's I don't, whatever it happens to be. And then people begin to find out where their skills are, where their resources are. Oh, look, I can do this because I've got a lot of that. Let me go in this direction. But also where their passions are. I I was talking to somebody and I was saying, I've got a lot of passion for student housing, but if you outside of actually being a landlord of a student residence, I don't see how you could make any money in it. And then people start saying, well, you could do this and you could do this, and I'm realizing if you have passion and if you see a problem and you have the passion to be able to try and solve it, if you act on it, I've been doing a bunch of thinking, but if you act on it, then you will find something. You will find some way to be able to help other people, and people will pay for that. They may not pay much, I don't know, but there is a way of monetizing things. And if you can't figure out how to monetize it, you talk to somebody, you say, I can't figure out how to monetize this. And someone who has done that will say, I will help you with that. I know how to do this stuff. So yeah, lots really big opportunities, not only to be able to collaborate, but also to bring your passion to things, to find your passions, because it is, as you know, it is a bit of a challenging road. And so you do need to be doing this for more than just, I'm going to make $1 million or, whatever it is. There's got to be something that keeps you going when you have problems.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's like when you start hitting your next ceiling, right? Because, yeah, maybe at the beginning it's about the money, but that's just because you need it. You're like, I need to pay the bills, I need to pay for my lifestyle. So you just think about money, money, money. But once that's taken care of, then it's exactly what you said, right? Then you're just kind of like, then you start actually, that's when self-discovery really happens, right? Because now you're like, oh my God, I have time. Like, what do I like? What interests me? You start like really start doing the self-discovery.
And that, when people have asked me, because they've been doing this for, okay, well, it seems like it's been 10 years, but let's call it a good 5 or 6 years. And I get a lot of people saying, well, are you going to retire? And if you like what you're doing, I don't know why you'd retire. Like maybe you would if you're tired, if you have health problems, if whatever it is. Absolutely. If your objective and your goal is this thing, playing golf, being on the beach, I don't know, crocheting, whatever, then go do that because that's your passion. But if your passion is to be able to create something and connect up with others and create something that can help people, then I don't know why, like, you're doing what you like
Why
to do, as long as you don't have to do it, you know, like a slave driver, 24 hours a day, every day of the week, but you can fit it into your life. To me, that sounds like a great solution. And that's what I'm going for, is to be able to continue to create and connect, because I really like that. And at the same time also have a life.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, very great points. And it's just when you enjoy something, it's even just asking yourself, why would you stop it?
And it's, when I can see it now, when you get to craft something, and when you have, when you're getting in touch with what your passions are or what you like, it then opens up possibilities for doing things long term. When I had to, when in a corporate culture that might be going in a direction you liked, might not be going in a direction you liked. Maybe you like your boss, maybe you don't like your boss, maybe you like the products you're working on, maybe you don't like the products you're working on. I can see why people would be looking to be able to get out. There were times in my corporate life when there were people that I was working with, and I was like, I don't want to work with these people. Or brands I worked on where I was not proud of the brands I was working on. I was like, if ever I could do this on my own, I would not work on this. Well, for good or for ill, this is what you get when you go out on your own. You get the opportunity to work with who you want to work with, work on what you want to work with, but then those safety nets, that monthly paycheck, none of that is there anymore. And that is both the advantage and the challenge at the same time. But it's one that we can do, that you can do, that you're doing, that I'm doing, and working together, we can support each other. So it's when it's time, if it's ever time, I have found moving into working on your own stuff to be very interesting and satisfying, and it happened for me, gratefully, at the right time in my life.
That's great. That's great to hear. And yeah, it's very true because everyone has their own differences of what they find satisfying and what they would like to do. Right? So for someone, yeah, like let's say crocheting all day, they love it and they do it. Other people's like, let's start businesses. This is fun. I don't have to worry about money, so let's just play and see what happens. Like especially I feel like when you don't have to worry about money, I feel that is where your creativity actually really comes
Mm.
out because then you're just like, what if I start this business? And then you actually go with it and you don't have those fears behind you, like thinking like that, like I have to do this because I don't have money, or I have to do that because I don't have money. When you're good, when like that, when the bills are paid and they're being taken care of, then it's like that creativity can come out or like especially like you said, like you love to problem solve, then it's just like I have the ability to problem solve without the restrictions because I'm not worried like I need to, pay a bill next month and that means I need to solve this problem right now, and maybe it may become like you solve it in a bad way just because you're thinking for I need to pay a bill, where it's like when money doesn't become an issue, you're actually trying to find like the best solution and get things done.
Well, and that's so, going along with that, there's somewhat the benefit maybe of being over 50 and being able to move into, a second or a third or a fourth career. Not only do you have a, wealth of experience about how to do things and what you like to do and what you're good at, but also perhaps you have the assets available to you. And I know that people might say, well, if only I had done this 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I think I've read stats that say like people over 50, maybe even over 60, are like the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs there is. There is tremendous skill and acumen and passion and ability. And if you've got assets so that you're not worried about necessarily having to pay the bills, that does unleash your creativity to be able to solve the problem in the way that you would like to solve the problem, not the way the corporation would like you to solve it, or with maybe some constraints, but in a novel way perhaps that you can see. So I would encourage anybody who is, there is always, you can always start. I mean, yesterday might have been the best day to start, but today is the second best day to be able to start. And age should not be a detrimental factor in deciding that you want to do something different, and you shouldn't feel that you have any less reason to be successful.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very true. And I would also, to add on to that, is if you have a fear, because I feel like that, like, I noticed, like you said, like when you're a kid, your fears are like nothing. Like, I'm gonna jump over this bridge and see what happens, and you're like, you jump into the water and you're like, you do it. And whereas, like, as you get older, you're like, you start thinking a lot more. You're like, maybe not. So you start thinking of all the problems that can happen. And usually they're even ridiculous, like, just over exaggerated things that could never happen, but you just start building it as you get older. And I would say the fears are the thing that don't let the fears stop you, and just make sure that you're going to the right people to get the right information so that you're making the educated decisions. And because I noticed that the fear like that, like as we all get older, I feel like the fears for some reason become greater and greater. And it is probably a lot of the reasons why people get stopped and say, like, if I did it when I was in my 20s, if I did it when I was in my 30s, they do that, I think, more for the fears of like, it's right now, I have all these fears basically. And, to try to push those aside seems like a daunting task.
Well, the great thing we can all know from behavioral psychology is that we all feel loss more than gains. So we look at, oh, but we could lose. Oh, but this could happen. Oh, well, what about the positive side? Like, yeah, that's there. But, oh, look at the negatives. So if you know that that's innate in you, it's how we have survived as a species, by being careful, that you can say, all right, I just need to dampen my fear mechanism, my risk mechanism, and spend time looking at the reward. Pull that up a little bit, because I'm tending to ignore it, and really say to yourself, if I could have this reward, and why couldn't I have this reward? What difference would it make in my life? Maybe in my family's life, in a legacy for my children, or maybe I can help my parents. If I could do this, and why can't I? Would this make a difference? And if it would, then we should be focusing and trying to promote that, because we do tend to ignore it, and we have to realize this is me doing this. This doesn't have to be the way it is. I'm doing this to myself, so I'm going to stop doing it to myself. I'm going to push down those fears. I'm going to push up the reward, and I can choose to go towards the reward, as opposed, based on, versus how I maybe innately feel.
So now that, yeah, that we've talked about the skills that you've had going in, and now that you've been working in this for probably, like, what you said, a year and a half, I think you said that you've been getting more like fully into this. What are the skills now that you're realizing that you are wanting to learn right now to continue your journey?
Well, I think the continuing to develop and expand and understand my mindset, to because there I have a lot more power than I realized. Earlier this year, I did 75 hard, which some people may have heard of. It's this mental discipline. Looks like it's a physical discipline, but it's really a mental discipline thing, where you have to make yourself do, I don't know, something like 6 or 7 things every day for 75 days, whether it's raining, whether it's snowing, whether it's 10 o'clock at night. And when you make yourself do certain things, you begin to realize that you could make yourself do anything you wanted. This idea of, oh, I can't lose weight. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm not successful with that. This is just your self-talk. So on the mindset, and I've come a great way, because I had been, maybe like some people, like over the last 10 years, gained 20 or 25 pounds, right? It comes on gradually. You don't really even notice, but then fit in the clothes, but then you buy bigger clothes and you don't fit in those anymore. And I've been saying to myself over the past couple of years, I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier. It's really health. The weight is a symptom of the health. And I tried and I failed and I tried and I failed. And coming to the end at 2020, I said to myself, I am really going to do this. But clearly I don't have the willpower to be able to do it myself. And one of the things I've been absorbing from people is that you can pay for accountability. You can pay for experts to be able to help you. My family never did that. They always did things themselves because it was the cheap way, because they didn't have options, or maybe they didn't perceive they had options. So I hired a fitness coach or a health coach. It's completely weird for me. But what that did for me is gave me accountability because I'd paid money, gave him accountability for me because I'd paid money, and gave me a program that I just followed. I just complied. I'll do those push-ups. I'll do that, eat more protein. I'll do that stuff. And did this is also as part of 75 Hard, doing those 6 or 8 things every single day. And so middle of this year, I came to realize, first of all, I had lost 25 pounds, which was great. So possible to do if you actually do the work. But also, I really can't make myself do whatever I want to. So if I'm not doing something, it's because I'm not doing it. And I want to continue to grow my skills to be able to be the best that I can be able to contribute the most that I can. I also want to continue to build my skills with business, because even though I worked in corporate Canada and did marketing for 30 years, it's really different when you're doing it yourself. And also social media gives you a lot of opportunity that wasn't back there in the old days. And so being able to leverage that, and then some specific skills in terms of private lending. I've done a number of deals, but want to continue to be able to do more, because I do see this as a really big opportunity for pre-retirees to be able to get a stream of income. And so to get more experience so that I can be an expert. I can really help people, because I do like to know what I'm doing. And so, learning from others, capitalizing on others, those are the types of skills that I want to have moving forward and gain moving forward. And that's why I'm doing some of the training that I am.
That's amazing. Yeah, those are all great things. Specifically, yeah, I totally understand what you mean about the mindset, and specifically 75 Hard. 75 Hard was something so interesting, where exactly what you said. It was all about your mind, and you realize that exactly what you said. Like, I think I can't remember who said this quote or what it was, but basically the action is instantaneous. So doing it is actually instantaneous, but it's our mind that decides, like, talks us out of it or talks us into it. And it's like, if you learn to control it, which is basically what 75 Hard does, you really, like, it's about learning to control your mind. And it's something that became so fascinating. Same thing with me. Like, I love mindset. I find it so interesting. It's kind of like, even it's a journey in itself, like, what can I make myself do?
Yeah, no,
That you just didn't realize.
I totally agree. And I would, if anybody, you can Google 75 Hard, and it looks like it's fitness, because you got to do 2 workouts a day and you're drinking a gallon of water and there's no alcohol. But people will say it is mindset. It is your personal power. And it really is. And it's a helpful thing to be able to learn. And it's never too late to learn that you can have that power, make yourself do stuff, and therefore you have the ability to do what you would like to do.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So the very last question before we end this, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? What are your plans? What are your goals?
I've gotten fairly clear. It's taken me a while, but I did some traveling when I was a kid and really, really enjoyed seeing other cultures, being part of that. I would like to do that again. And with the pandemic has shown us that people can work in all from home in different places with with a mobile lifestyle. So I'd like to be able to do that. And I have enough assets that if I'm able to privately lend my assets, I can fund a better, quite a good lifestyle, a travel lifestyle. But I also know that I miss people. I like people. I want to work and connect with people. And so that's my purpose for figuring out in the next, well, before the next 5 years, but 5 years from now, I will have a business. It will have three streams. It'll have private lending. It will have off-campus housing, and it will have something with women, helping women, empowering them and supporting them to be able to improve their financial futures. So many women lack the confidence to be able to know that they can do things, that there is, that they have it within them. And sometimes society sort of pushes you to think you can't do things. And that is a vector that I would like us to be able to help women feel, be in better control of their financial future and their family's financial future.
Oh, it'd be great to see you grow and see your successes. Thank you so much for coming on. I love talking with you. It was so much fun to hear about your journey and just hear about your wisdom. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, but also for everything that you do with all the guests you've had. Sean last week, all the not only the mindset but also then the technical skills. It is really great. So I applaud you for doing this and taking the effort. I know it is no easy feat to be able to do this at the frequency that you do. So thank you so much for giving back and supporting the people around you.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Catherine. It was so much fun to talk with you, and we'll see everyone at the next episode. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.